à tous, mon nom est Hébert, j'ai le privilège de servir le syndicat des métallos comme responsable de la santé et sécurité du travail. Good morning everyone, my name is Julie Hébert, and I have the privilege of serving the syndicat des métallos, District 5 Steelworkers, as the health and safety coordinator. I first want to recognize and welcome those who have traveled from around the world to be here today to celebrate this graduation with us, namely Australians. I want to thank again Sharon Block, Richard Freeman, Sean Fain, Alita Castillo, Jack Trombor, Tina Lee, as well as all of our facilitators and lecturers for their outstanding support and work throughout the entire course of this program. Thank you. I'm also extremely proud to have people who have traveled from Quebec to attend today's graduation, who I would like to recognize in French. Je tiens à saluer dans notre langue la délégation du Québec, le directeur québécois du syndicat des métallos, Dominique Lemieux, le relativement nouvellement retraité adjoint au directeur des Québécois, Donald Noël et sa conjointe Danielle Laporte, un ami d'enfance, Jacques, et finalement mes deux parents qui se sont déplacés pour être ici, ma mère Lise et mon père Claude. My parents. It was on one of our many social activities over the course of the program that some of my classmates told me they would put my name in as our class speaker. I was absolutely delighted by the honor, and in the following days, I started thinking about how I could possibly summarize the depth of such a life-changing experience this has been in 5 minutes. I'll tell you right away to relieve some of the pressure I put on myself. It is impossible to tell you just how incredibly transforming these 5 weeks have been. As I kept reflecting and digging deeper into my experience, my strongest thoughts, were the humbling mistakes I have made throughout some of my time here. I thought I would teach all of you about where I'm from. I thought I would teach you how Quebec is different from the rest of North America, how our working class was shaped by our linguistic struggles, how we've had the quietest of revolutions that enabled the French-speaking lower class to access education and move on to positions of power. I thought I would teach you about our laws, which are known to be much more progressive because of the French heritage we still build upon today. And I also thought I would teach you how much hope I hold for my people to one day finally become an independent nation. But I was wrong. I was wrong because I assumed that I could teach a lot, when in reality, I could learn a lot more than I could ever teach. I believe my story was unique. Turns out we have 38 different unique stories here from the 38 people who are graduating from the trade union program class of 2024. On my very first day here, I met a sister who's an incredibly strong and caring woman, and also a domestic violence survivor. Shortly after, I met a brother who impressed me by how quick he was, not only to reach out and help others, but to recognize the kind gestures he encounters on a daily basis. I've also had the privilege of finding 3 brothers who literally traveled across the world to be here and taught me that our cultural differences don't really matter as long as we're able to understand each other's lovely accents. I got to know siblings whose energy to fight injustice can move mountains. I learned from dedicated and passionate advocates from the building trades as well as from public sector unions. I learned from siblings who are incredible role models to minorities that have been absent of these spaces for too long and finally get to share their experiences here. I obviously won't be able to tell you about every one of my classmates and the reason why their story is unique. But believe me, I have been deeply moved for many different reasons by every single one of them. And could easily spend hours telling you how the people we've met here have had and will have a profound and lasting influence on each other's lives as a collective unit. The shift from me to us didn't happen overnight. It was through deep conversations and a lot of funny moments that we were called to build our solidarity, support each other, and most importantly, learn from each other in this incredible program. As the class now knows, French philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau has a theory on the human being's perfectibility. In a nutshell, the theory states that our greatest ability is the one to become better versions of ourselves, always changing, always evolving, and always building on our core values. I now urge us to learn from our mistakes. Where we used to see I's, may we now see we's to build the solidarity we absolutely need to tackle the challenges that will come our way. I will leave you with a personal translation of one of my very favorite poems by the great Québécois poet Gaston Miron, which I will first read in French. Nous avançons, le front comme un delta, goodbye, farewell, nous reviendrons, nous aurons à dos le passé. Et à force d'avoir pris en haine toutes les servitudes, nous serons devenus des bêtes féroces de l'espoir. Translation: we move forward, our forehead like a delta. Goodbye, farewell. We will return, we will have our backs to the past, and by dint of having hated all servitudes, we will have become ferocious beasts of hope. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to take a mindful minute. My name is Shamaiah Turner. I am the Business Development Representative of the Northeast Regional Council of SMART and a proud sheet metal worker of Local 17 right here in Boston. That's across the river. We are in Hébert, that's awesome over there. I want to thank our previous speaker, Julie Ibar, for her inspiring words of wisdom and her words of wisdom throughout the course. She's a native French speaker, which I know that you gathered. So she's been doing more work than all of us juggling those two languages. I also want to echo her sentiments in thanking Sharon Block, Jack Trumpor, Alita Castillo, Sean Fain, and all of our lecturers and other support staff that have made this program a raging success. I would like to give special acknowledgement to the president of my union, Bobby Butler, for extending the opportunity, Chrissy Lynch, who couldn't be here today, who is the president of the Mass AFL-CIO, which sponsored my way, and my family and friends who are in this room and online. I stand before you today with my highest degree in education, being a high school diploma and the sheet metal journey person's license and my union card. I would never have made it to this podium without the support of my labor family. And of course, I want to thank my classmates for the rigorous discussions, for trusting me, and for trusting me as one of their class speakers today. Congratulations to the 111th class of the Harvard Trade Union Program. So Monday, we go back to work. And it may seem like another day, but really, it is the start of a revolution. For we now fully realize that the front lines of democracy takes place on the job site. We come from Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and the United States, where the labor laws in some countries are better than others, where through hard-won battles, the workers bargain for a permanent seat at the table. But in each of our respective countries, is a force that purpose of our humanities and turn us into nameless automatons if they had the chance. We are at a crisis point, especially in the United States. Those same forces are the ones who at this very institution rail about allegedly stolen words while standing on the shoulders of and holding the hands of those who have stolen land, stolen bodies, stolen lives, and stolen labor. These are the ones who have historically denied the pettily convicted, the indigenous, the enslaved, or anyone else deemed other a voice on a planet we're all born naked to. We all live in democracies. We're able to enjoy all that that entails in our free time if we can afford it. But the reality is that too many of us spend an inordinate amount of time selling labor to small dictators and still may not be able to make ends meet. The corporate goblins believe that we are asking for too much, that we want everything free when we only want to be able to contribute meaningfully to our society, enjoy those we love, and work and retire with dignity. The elite mistake us workers for themselves and believing that we will never be satisfied, when for them, even $1 billion are not enough. Unionism is a technology that we can use to lift each other up and ensure that we all get a fair shake. And I don't just speak to you or on behalf of my classmates, I speak to history. It was not lost on the mill worker when she could not expect to live a healthy 10 years making fabric, that her fate was tied to the enslaved picking that cotton. And parallels can be drawn from the disposability of those lives today, when our firefighters, who are tasked with saving our lives, must worry about the impact of toxic chemicals in their equipment on their health. I can't but help to notice the similarities between the agricultural and domestic workers who were left out of the protections of the National Labor Relations Act in 1935 to the precarious workers of today's gig economy, and how closely the consequences of being an Uber or Lyft driver mirror the detriments of sharecropping. The underpinnings of US labor history still carry the stench of chattel slavery, and my fellow Black Americans may be surprised to hear me say that I care nothing for monetary reparations. I believe what's needed is complete labor reform. I commend Jennifer Abruzzo and the current National Labor Relations Board appointed by the Biden administration with the strides they are making in favor of workers' rights, but we should not be at the mercy of whoever holds the presidency. Laborers are what keep any country thriving, and we should always have a seat at the table. In that vein, I also speak toward the future. It is time that as a labor movement, we put meaningful investment into proactive organizing strategies. We need to think in centuries as our enemies do, because when we live in a culture of reactivity, we are often too late. Personally, I am currently fundraising for a project taking place next month to introduce young girls to the building trades. And Mohammed Awal from AFSCME, one of our classmates, is raising funds to build a school in Ghana. Actions like this will go a long way in educating the next generation about our values, as well as pave a way for them to begin to cultivate their own voice. And we need to make space for the voices of young people. I am also galvanized by the work being done by my other labor siblings in this room to make sure that their organizations are being more inclusive and address workers as whole human beings. Some examples include the attention being paid to the mental health of police officers in New South Wales, the impact of domestic violence on the membership of the United Steelworkers, and the fostering of diverse leadership within the building trades unions. There were so many brilliant ideas being shared in these rooms by this cohort. I sincerely hope that we keep in touch and hold each other accountable for the futures we promise to create. And finally, I speak directly to those corporate goblins, those new robber barons who seek to puppet us through those small differences that make us diverse, such as our chosen gender expression, who we love, what bodies we inhabit, who seek to hold us hostage, to hold the most vulnerable of us hostage to poverty, wages, and horrible working conditions by making us concerned about whether or not we can put food on the table and provide for our families. To these titans of greed, those who have confused themselves for God, I want you to know that we are legions, we are multitudes, we are the workers of the world, and we are coming for you. Fists raised in global solidarity. When we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. Thank you.